Mr. Srivastava, thank you so much for joining me. So I'm picking up on an article that you wrote in Business Standard in a few days ago about quality control orders and how they're hurting free trade. Before I come to the example that you quoted, and that's quite interesting, tell us about the history to quality control orders, because it's suddenly people are talking about it and more so than ever before. Why is that?
So about 10 years back, there was a thought that whole of the world is controlling imports through political control orders. For developed countries, even China, they cut their tariffs, but they set up a very complicated quality control order regime, which means they even if tariffs are say 2%, but if a quality control order is in place, you have to meet its requirement. And one two prominent examples are, for example, Japan tariffs on car is less than 5%, but they have elaborate set of such regulations like quality control orders and many others. And because of those, they use those to not allow most of the imports. So as a result, 90% of the cars on Japanese roads are Japanese. More than 85% of cars on South Korean roads are South Korean made only. So to the world, you can say, see, my tariff barriers are so low, but you regulate through QCOs and other such mechanisms the imports the way you like.
Now let's come to India. So, at what point does India now has QCOs on a whole range of products that we are importing. So, where is the problem now, and why are we again? Why are we talking about it so much today?
So we have less than 50 QCOs till 2017. Then he passed a new BIS Act, which facilitated a quick issuance of QCOs. And for example, in the European Union, if you have to issue a QCO, you have to do a long drawn analysis of possible future impacts. You don't do that. We just do some quick homework and issue this. So after 2017, we have issued QCOs covering more than 500 products. And I think more than 400 products QCOs are in line. So suddenly we showed, and people said PIS doesn't have enough infrastructure even in doing this. So focus is on controlling imports, which we feel should be controlled, and controlling in a way where a lot of subjectivity is there.
Okay, so I'm going to come to the products which are most affected in a moment. But walk us through the process of how a QCO works. So let's say I'm an importer in India, or if I'm an exporter sitting outside, and I want to send a consignment of products of a certain product. Or if if I'm the brand itself, let's say handbags, and if I want to send a consignment of handbags to India, what would follow next?
So, if we look in the framework, then if you are exporting to India, about 98% of the products they are free, which means you don't require any licensing by the government. You just pay the import duties, custom duties, whatever is the duty, and bring it. But now, after the coming of the QCOs, if your product attracts the QCO, then apart from paying the duty, you have to obtain a BIS certification. And in most cases, that means BIS inspector will come to your factory in the foreign country wherever you're located
At your cost.
at your cost, of course. You have to bear all the cost, and then they will certify, and then only you can export to India.
And that certification is really a substitute for an ISI stamp, or the equivalent of that.
Certification is for BIS stamp. They give that your product meets that BIS or equivalent standards to be supplied to India.
Got it. Okay, so now let me come back to if you were to look at the mix of products, which are the products that are now facing, let's say, the maximum hit in terms of these QCO orders right
So
now?
currently, more than 20,000 MSMEs in the steel sector, steel user industry, they are crying. So two things are there. One, you know, for example, in steel also I talk about say stainless steel. So or let's talk about the full steel sector. So India makes steel. Steel is of two types. One is normal run-of-the-mill alloy steel, which is used in bridge making and other factory making general. And second is specialized steel, non-alloy steel, where non-alloy steel is general steel, and alloy steel is specialized steel. For example, for automotive, for making aircraft parts, we need alloy steel. So our production is predominantly non-alloy steel, which is low quality, low value steel for general purposes. 93% of our production is non-alloy steel, 7% is alloy steel. So we import lot of alloy steel, and if I look at the data, then I say we need if I look at our production and consumption, there is a gap in production and consumption, and we meet that gap by imports. So imports are mandatorily about 10 to 15% imports are mandatory. We import it. What QCOs are doing is that earlier the companies who are using those specific alloy steels like CRGO and others, they were importing directly as per the needs from the factories. Now QCOs have come. So what is there? Suppose 10 suppliers are there. Now you are issuing QCO to only one supplier of that particular steel. Then you have to go to that supplier. And it's possible, it has happened that one large Indian steel company can approach that supplier. You have to supply only through me. You cannot supply to other small thing. Now this guy is big guy in India. So that supplier will supply to him. He is the only supplier with the QCO. So this guy becomes the importer. So he is also a large steel manufacturer in India and also the largest importer. So MSMEs have to go to this Indian guy to get this imported material, and he charges premiums on that.
Right, but how does he have the ability to issue the QCO or give the certification?
So QCO is always issued by the BIS, that is a government body which issues a QCO, and that's why we say that BIS may have its intelligence to choose one particular supplier over others.
Hmm.
But net effect is that that particular supplier, if there are 20 suppliers, you are giving to one or two only, then and that particular supplier is choosing to supply to only one Indian large company, then it restricts the markets. And earlier, the imports were made directly by the user industry. Now they have to go through the Indian suppliers.
Okay, so let's come to the latest complication that you've written about. You've said that basically, if I'm importing steel, earlier I needed to have a QCO for the person that I'm importing from or the country that I'm importing from. But today, if that country in turn is importing raw materials or some component of its final product, then the importer in India needs to produce justification or certification from the raw material supplier as well. So it's really A to B and B to C, C being us. But now even A's credentials have to be established.
Yes. So suppose we are importing flat steel panels we import. So and it's under quality control orders. So the factory suppose is based in Indonesia and it is supplying the flat steel panels to India. It has to be it has to obtain a QCO by the BIS. That's fine. So while giving authorization of QCO to this Indonesian factory, BIS people go there and check everything. They also check what raw material this factory is using. They are checking that also, so that they ensure that raw material quality is also maintained. It's in the BIS manual to check all these things. But but again, now this new order says, Steel Ministry Order 13 June, it says that the Indonesian factory, if it's buying the raw material for making that flat panel steel, suppose they are buying from Thailand, then the Thai factory supplying this raw material to Indonesian factory need also a BIS certifications. So two, three things are there. One, these guys already, when they went to inspect Indonesian factory, they already checked everything that raw material is compliant. So this is totally not understandable how this is happening. No other country follows such practices. This is just a non-tariff barrier. The non-tariff barriers we are creating to hurt our own industry. We have more than 20,000 steel user industry, and their supplies will be there. And funny thing is that, this order came on 13th June, and they say it will be implemented from 16th June. So there was just one working day. In one working day, do you expect this to happen? The third country company to come to BIS traveling to them, giving certificate. So this is all pre-thought. People talk many things that the company with which somebody intended that they should supply, they already got the certification before issuance of these orders. But all those things, I mean, all are not in the public domain. But it is not a normal business practice. It hurts the industries. We have to know that India large about 6, 7 large steel mills. They produce most of the steel, 60% of the steel. But we have 20,000 plus steel user industry. Their exports are more than $10 billion. And by doing these things, their exports and domestic supply, everything is being hurt.
Right. And like steel, are there any other examples where there are these secondary QCO requirements?
Yes. Secondary QCO examples, I think it's in the case of viscose staple fiber. So, it's not exactly secondary. We say if we are importing something, we have to ensure the quality of the final product. And we should not worry about the raw material. Final product should meet our specific. So, viscose staple fiber or polyester staple fiber, by implementing QCOs on this, we are hurting raw material. We should ensure quality of the final product which is being sold or which is reaching the consumers. So, by this applying QCO on the raw material, and these things are basically non-tariff barriers.
Right. So let me ask you a larger question to wrap up. So these QCOs have been mentioned by Donald Trump. Maybe he's not used the word, but he's referred to them as non-tariff barriers. It's been an issue for India even before maybe Trump raised it. I mean, a lot of Indian consuming industries have been pointing out. What's your view on QCOs as a whole? And are there areas that we could be removing them or diluting their impact at this point?
So QCs are not bad in terms of definition. Most of the countries they use them, and if you are using them for controlling import to a certain extent, I don't mind. Do it because China and Europe, everybody does this, but don't do things which hurt your own industry. Here, QCOs, what QCOs are doing is that you are deciding uh, who will import, who will not import. So you're deciding even the company who is going to import by your QCO decision. That should not happen. We have to treat all Indian industry, big and small, with the same equal eye, equal objective. So at least in steel QCO, that's not being ensured.
Right. Ajay Srivastava, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.